Today we're going to talk about the 6.8 Western. We're out here in the west, wide open spaces, and we're going to do a cartridge review, so stay tuned. Alright guys, a lot of times on this show that I do, I talk about older cartridges, but today we're going to talk about a pretty new one. We're going to do a review on the 6.8 Western. Now, just a few years ago, Browning and Winchester co-developed the 6.8 Western, simply took a 270 short mag and gave it a 1 1/8 twist, shortened the case just a little bit, and made the case overall length a little bit longer, and it was designed around heavier, higher, long BC bullets. These bullets would go like from, up to 175, maybe 180 grain at the very top end, which for a 270 caliber cartridge, a .277 or a 6.8 millimeter cartridge, this was pretty new. The 27 Nosler had bumped up that twist rate a little bit to 1 and 8.5, but this was a 1 and 8. And so pretty cool concept. And for people who are 270 short mag or 270 Winchester fans, this was pretty cool to think in that 6.8 caliber they could get that heavy of a bullet. Now I think Winchester and Browning were kind of seeing the writing on the wall, and they noticed a lot of cartridges coming out from Hornady, whether it was the 6.5 PRC or the 6.5 Creedmoor. A lot of these cartridges had something in common, and that was that they were designed from the beginning with a head height and a twist rate that matched those heavier, longer range style bullets. And so they kind of, to a sense, copied that. And when it comes to chamber dimensions, when it comes to head height, just overall design and that faster twist rate, they kind of went with the flow and did their version of a more modern cartridge. Now, not only Hornady, but Nosler and Federal, several manufacturers have developed new cartridges, like the 224 Valkyrie, for instance. It's just a 22 cartridge, but with a faster twist rate, designed for those heavier bullets. So they kind of decided to modernize, basically, the 270 short mag. Now, when I first heard of the 6.8 Western, I wasn't really impressed. I thought, it's okay, I guess. But the more I looked into it, I thought, yeah, that's pretty cool. And I was kind of thinking about buying one, and I had was looking at the Winchester XPR. But at the time, which, money comes and goes, and there's times you just don't have the money to buy stuff. But at this time, I did have the money to buy a new rifle, and I could not find a 6.8 Western XPR, but I did find a 270 short mag XPR. And in all honesty, I'd wanted the 270 short mag for like 20 years. So didn't get the 6.8 Western, but I did get the 270 short mag. I don't regret it. I've had a blast shooting it. It's been really fun to hand load for it, except for finding brass has been a nightmare. But I've really been happy with my purchase. However, I've always felt objectively that 6.8 Western is just a little bit more versatile and probably just a little bit better cartridge. Now, something happened shortly after it came out, and that was Hornady released its 7mm PRC cartridge, which is going to shoot kind of the same bullets. Remember, 6.8 and 7mm are very similar. It's 277 inches, 0.277 inches versus 0.284. 7 thousandths difference. Very similar caliber. Now the PRC is a long action versus the 6.8 Western, a short action. However, they're both geared around that 160 to 175 grain bullet, and can go even heavier, of course, than the 7 PRC. So maybe a similar demographic of the hunting community. And so there was an immediate reaction, it seemed like, behind the scenes from Hornady, where they really wasn't going to support the 6.8 Western. Didn't make ammo for it, weren't making bullets specifically for it, just seemed to kind of want nothing to do with the 6.8 Western because, I think, of the 7 PRC getting ready to come out. And it seemed like some other bullet manufacturers, ammo manufacturers, kind of took that cue from Hornady and have not supported it, whether it's Norma, Federal, Remington, whoever. Really nobody besides Browning and Winchester, at least at the time of the making of this video, are making ammo for it, brass for it. It's just really not being supported at all by anybody. And unfortunately, it seems like Winchester and Browning are not supporting it either. Like, they're really not marketing for it. They're not pushing it. They had some pretty popular cartridges that they have developed here recently, like the 350 Legend, and it's done really well. But they just really haven't tried it, hard at all for that 6.8 Western to be successful. And I remember when the 6.8 Western came out, I felt like it was going to kill the 270 Short Mag just because they're so similar. But strangely enough, the 270 Short Mag has made a little bit of a comeback. It's still pretty obscure. But yeah, it just seems like the 6.8 Western is kind of dead in the water. I made a video not too long ago with Reloading Weatherby where we talked about, hashtag save the 6.8 Western, kind of just in jest. However, I personally really do like the cartridge. And I made another video called One Cartridge to Rule Them All. And if you've not watched that video, stop right here and go watch it. But more than likely, you getting where I'm going with this, I called the 6.8 Western the one cartridge to rule them all. This is focusing on hunting, not match grade shooting. And it's focusing on just a very versatile cartridge. And I thought a lot of its design aspects, whether they were copied from Hornady or whether they came up with them on their own, just really was an amalgamation of great ideas, great design philosophies, and needless to say, I'm a big fan. It's not really doing that well in the market today, but I think it deserves its own video. And I want to take a little bit of time and compare it and its ballistics and its case design to some other notable cartridges. And so we're going to do that now. All right, there's really only two differences between the 6.8 Western and the 270 Short Mag when it comes to case geometry. Number one, the point from the base to the shoulder is 1.5835 on the 6.8 Western and 1.664 on the 270 Short Mag. That's an 0.8 of an inch difference. So the case is 0.8 of an inch different. And then the overall case length is 2.860 on the 270 Short Mag, but it's 2.955 on the 6.8 Western. So they just simply shortened the main length of the case by 0.8 of an inch, but the overall cartridge length was expanded by almost an inch. So simply put, with that 1 1/8 inch twist rate, they wanted longer, heavier bullets, and so they extended the overall length for those longer bullets so they could be seated out of the case and not be taking up case capacity. And they also got this by taking a little bit away from the case itself. Now, the 6.8 Western is going to be able to shoot heavier bullets than the 270 Short Mag. That's one of the benefits of the 6.8 Western. So that's not really a comparison, but let's try to compare the exact same bullet and the exact same bullet weight and see how they compare to each other. So if you look over here, the fastest powder, according to this manual, is Reloader 25 at 32.29. And over here, the fastest powder is Reloader 22 at 33.02. So you're talking a difference of around 40 feet per second. However, let's try to compare the same powder. So the only one that's similar is IMR 4350. The max is about 63 grains at 32.22. Over here, 60.5 grains at 31.74. So around 50 feet per second difference and about 2 less grains. How about 160 grain? You got a jacketed soft point here, and then on the 270 Short Mag, another jacketed soft point. 270 Short Mag, the highest velocity is going to be 29.99 out of Magnum powder. Highest velocity on the 6.8 Western is going to be Norma MRP, about 29.51. Once again, difference of about 50 feet per second. See if we can find the same powder. All right, let's go with the same powder, Reloader 25 in the 6.8 Western. Max is around 61 grains going at 2939 feet per second. 270 Short Mag, Reloader 25, 64.5 grains going about 2953. That's only a difference of about 20 or 30 feet per second. However, there's something interesting here. Look, Reloader 25 in the 6.8 Western, 61 grains is getting you 64,100 PSI. Okay, that's almost max. But then Reloader 25 in the 270 Short Mag, 64.5 grains is only 60,700. So it's not actually even close to 65,000, which is what the cartridge is rated for with its max PSI. So that's curious. I'm going to assume that if they went up to 65 grains, they were showing pressure over 65,000. I can't understand any other reason why they would stop there if they were trying to reach the max. So interesting there. If you have any idea on that, please comment below. All right, another interesting comparison to the 6.8 Western is 6.5 PRC. All right, the 6.5 PRC is a very interesting comparison to the 6.8 Western. If you look at the two next to each other, they're very, very similar. Obviously, one is 6.5 caliber, one is 6.8, and therefore you're going to have heavier bullets shot out of the 6.8 Western, 20 to 30, grains. Their trajectories and their velocities are basically the same, though. You're just going to have a trade-off. You're going to have a little bit more energy because of the heavier bullet with the 6.8 Western, and you're going to have a little bit less recoil with the 6.5 PRC because, once again, the bullet weight, and there's a little bit less case capacity with the PRC. So the overall length of the PRC, 2.955. Overall length of the 6.8 Western, what do you know? 2.955. From base to shoulder, 1.58 on the 6.8 Western and 1.56 on PRC, pretty close. The big difference is right there. At the base, it's 0.532 on the 6.5 PRC and 0.555 on the 6.8 Western. That short mag case is just a little bit fatter than the 375 Ruger case, which is the two parents, basically, of these two cartridges. All right, the 7mm Remington Magnum would be one more comparison that I want to make with the 6.8 Western. Now, it's a long action. You can see there, 3.290, not even close. One's long action, one's short action. However, both of these cartridges are kind of designed around something like 175 grain bullet, maybe a little bit less. So let's just compare that, the two cartridges and 175 grain bullet. Okay, now these are not the same bullets, so it's not apples to apples, but 175 grain tipped Game King out of the 6.8 Western. Top velocity looks like it goes to Reloader 25 at 2843. That's with 59.4 grains and a max pressure of 64.4. So in the 7 Remington Magnum, a different bullet, but also with Reloader 25 with 68.5 grains at 59.9 on the max pressure, 2871. All right, so that's 29 feet per second difference, so extremely similar. Let's go with another one. IMR 7977, 2671, pretty big drop there in velocity. 57.2 grains at 64.1. And in the 7 Rim Mag, 7977, 2802 with 58,600 PSI, 67 max grains of that. So that's something that you're going to notice with this 6.8 Western. A lot of it comes down to powder used and case fill. Whether you're comparing it to the 270 Short Mag, 6.5 PRC, or 7mm Remington Magnum, or even the new 7 PRC, with certain powders, it's definitely not going to be as good. But with other powders, it'll be right there with it, if not better. So it's very powder specific on how good it's going to do. But the big key here is case fill. For instance, the 270 Short Mag has more case capacity. That doesn't automatically mean anything depending on the powder you use. Every powder is going to reach a certain max pressure depending on the bullet that you're using and other factors, and you might not even get that 100% case fill. So with a lot of powders, the 6.8 Western's going to be just as good as a 270 short mag, but more versatile. Very similar to the 6.5 PRC, just with heavier bullets and a little bit more energy, however, more recoil. And also very similar to the 7 mag. But if you can find a certain powder that is going to fill the case of the 270 short mag or fill the case of the 7 rim mag nearly 100%, you can eke out a little bit more performance there. All right, so you see how it compares. I think that was very interesting. Overall, the cartridge is really a great cartridge. For hunting, especially in the West, which I know it's called the Western, I just can't think of any animal, any game animal that it would not be ideal for. Is there a better cartridge for a moose? I'm sure. But man, it would be just fine. 175 grain bullet, be just fine. In fact, that 270 cartridge or the 7mm, they're both almost the same, seems to be the sweet spot, really. It's not too big for the little stuff, it's not too little for the big stuff. So if you want one cartridge for all, or one caliber for all, that 7mm, something in the 7mm or 6.8, right in there is going to be probably the sweet spot to have one cartridge for all hunting. Now, in the East, Midwest, South, it's a lot more forests, a lot more close-up shots. You know, you don't need a super long range Western style cartridge. A 30-30, a 308, things like that have been doing great. And in a lot of these states where they don't allow anything but a straight wall cartridge, that 350 Legend does fine too. But for hunting purposes, and especially when you know you're going to have longer shots, and that 6.8 Western is just a good all-around versatile choice. It's going to be really flat, really nice with a 130 grain bullet. Of course, you can go down. I mean, you can get like a 100 grain bullet, but 130 grain bullet in something like a monolithic bullet, a CX, an LRX, hammer bullet, something like that is going to be just devastating, have great penetration, and be very flat shooting. You get up there to that 145, 150, 155, 165, that's just kind of the sweet spot for everything. And man, you get like a great bonded bullet, you know, something like an AccuBond long range. Eventually they're probably going to come out with a terminal ascent and a bond strike, spear impact. Some of those newer bonded bullets that I think are fantastic, they're going to develop them for that 6.8 Western, I hope. And there's just not a game animal in North America or a plains game animal in Africa, or whether you're in New Zealand, Europe, Australia, it's just going to be an amazing hunting cartridge for anything. Of course, if you're talking about dangerous game in Africa, it's not legal in most places. But I really think it's probably right now the most underrated cartridge that's been developed. And it reminds me of another underrated cartridge that Winchester created way back when, the 284 Winchester. You know, the 270, the 243, the 308, Winchester has come out with some really good cartridges. The 300 Win Mag, even the short mag cases are great cases. So they've had their share of great cartridges, but that 284 and that 6.8 Western, I feel like are two of their best designs ever. And so far, neither one has really done that great. Of course, the 284 has had a resurgence in F-class, and it's popular in match shooting. But poor marketing, poor decision making with the 284 caused it to just, you know, not really find its audience. And unfortunately, no marketing with the 6.8 Western in correspondence with getting no help from anybody else has caused the 6.8 Western to kind of fail. So, do I recommend it? Well, if you're a hand loader and you can find brass, and that's two big caveats, I'd say absolutely you're going to end up with a phenomenal cartridge that's very underrated and one of the most versatile, best hunting cartridges in the world. If you're looking for something easy to find, good availability, tons of different rifle options, then probably not. Probably go with something else. Even a normal 270 is going to be way more available, way more common. But performance-wise, it's not even in the same class. I'd like to know if any of you guys have a 6.8 Western, what your experience has been with it. How do you think it compares to some more available popular cartridges that are out there? I'm a big fan, and I do plan on getting one of these days. I'd love to get a Model 70, some variety of that model in the 6.8 Western. So that's kind of a future plan of mine, but big fan of the 6.8 Western. Hope it succeeds. Hashtag save the 6.8 Western. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. There's more videos like this coming out. Check the links in the description below for all the things I got going on. Stay tuned to the channel for more cartridge reviews coming out. Hope you've had a great day, and until next time, take care.